Hello, how you doing today? This is another episode of Natural as F. I'm your health coach, Dr. Ferrante Frazier, and we're going to be having a peculiar topic today, which is living matter cures itself. Uh, I get this topic from Our Human Life is Philosophies and Laws by Dr. Herbert Shelton. So we're going to be quoting a lot of his teachings in this show to get you to understand how matter, living matter, only living matter, has the ability to heal itself. And there might be some things that you didn't realize was living, but has a ability to heal and repair itself. According to one of life's great law, is that the organism is self-preservation. It's self-preservation. You know, all living organisms will act to preserve themselves. And not only is cells and tissues of the body, or the body itself is self-preservation through, just protection. It builds itself. It destroy tissues that are unhealthy and can result in its suffering. So the body is at all times in a process of trying to heal itself and establish balance. All right. So I just want to thank you for tuning into this episode of Natural as Elf. And we're going to teach you under the teachings of natural hygiene, which is natural as Elf. I can't get no natural hygiene when it comes to holistic health. There's many different forms of holistic health out there, but they are only good according to their ingredients with natural hygiene. Now, I say that to say, natural hygiene just requires you to live in such a way. It's a lifestyle change, and it's the natural lifestyle that you're supposed to be in. You're supposed to breathe fresh air. So natural hygiene is just making you aware that fresh air is important to health, and asking you to utilize it. We supposed to be. It's natural for us to eat predominantly fruits and vegetables. So, and that's what natural hygiene supports and teaches. So it's just reaffirming that which is natural. Now, it's not natural to take pills and remedies and potions and stuff like that. Not even this herbal stuff that they have out. You have all these holistic doctors that are selling to their people, selling to their clients because they can't make money off you. You know, most people don't want to go in and spend money to a holistic doctor. They don't. We're not as rich as the people who, work in these hospitals and getting paid $200,000 and $300,000 a year to practice their medicine on you and to cut on you and all type of things of that nature. I can just spend a year of just taking out tonsils all day long, just removing tonsils, and I get paid by the tonsil. Anybody who come in there with a little bit of swelling going on in there, you need to take that out. But since we can't, mostly holistic doctors can't take insurance and Medicaid and stuff like that. It's really hard to get to be able to take those things. So you know, finances are really strict when we're teaching holistic health. So you have those who come up with gimmicks to get people to pay. Well, I can't pay you to educate you. You're gonna be like, duh, I know I need to eat right. I'm just addicted to fried chicken. I just can't do it. So when you tell people, it's beneficial going out there in the sunlight. You mean this was what I came? I paid you. I came and paid you for you to tell me I need to eat better. I know that, duh. I need to, get fresh air. I need to get sunlight. I need to exercise and get my fat tail off the couch. You know, so it's the holistic person have to come up with these remedies. They come up with so-called cures that are less threatening than medicine. Some of them are not even, they give out tonic waters. I can whip up a batch of tonic water that just is just water in color, just to have you mentally think that I'm giving you medicine, like a placebo, in other words. Now, you had one doctor that used to do that, Dr. Jennings, and his, uh, well, I say ending career of medicine and beginning career of teaching hygiene, and Graham. And all these different doctors would actually use a placebo into tricking their clients into believing that they're taking medicine and they were healing. They say, hey, this water is going to heal you. And the individual take it in good faith, believing that this water was going to heal them, this colored water, these bread pills and these sugar pills and all these other so-called placebo mechanisms. And they will get healed, just from the act of, believing and putting faith in them. So most of these holistic doctors out here are supplying you with remedies and cures because that's the only way they can make money off you. Like I said, you're not going to come to them if they're just telling you, hey, you need to exercise, you need to get some sleep, you need to have better relationships, stay away from toxic people, keep the will to live. Most people don't want to be taught stuff that obviously is, common sense. We need something, or we require something that in this state that we're in, this state of conscious that, mankind is in. We need something to put the blame on, and we need something that doesn't require us to change our habits. We love the habits that we're in, and we don't want to change them. So it's so much of false information out there, even with holistic health, because of, there's no money in as a holistic doctor like you see in medical doctor. A holistic doctor have to really care about mankind health for him to continuously practice, So it's like these ones out here, they don't want they not trying to do that. So they whip up a batch or something and tell you. Now they might tell you to, breathe fresh air and eat some better food, but here, take this pill. So the eating the better food and getting rest and drinking water is what's really correcting your problem. But this potion or herb or whatever he telling you to take is less threatening. So your body healed in spite of the drug he's giving you, in spite of the herb he's giving you, or the so-called remedy and cure is not as toxic that it will warrant your inability to heal. All right. So that's how these holistic doctors still have so-called, healings under their modality. It doesn't matter what they're offering. They have people say, "Oh, people got healed of cancer taking my drug." That don't mean the drug healed them. The body was going to heal itself from that so-called issue anyhow. It was able to heal itself in spite of it. And that's a mentality that some people are hard to understand. Especially when they're so engrossed into the medical mindset. When they're so strongly educated into a healing modality that they don't realize that it is the body healing itself all along. And that's where we come into our topic. I want to thank this platform, our Black media, for allowing us to be here to speak on this holistic health and healing. To share the knowledge of how the body heals itself. And I've been saying that since we first started this show, Natural is Self, that the body is self-healing. Never a time did I give credit of healing to any other thing outside of the body. That's not what we teach in orthopathy. Nature orthopathic, meaning that things are, the disease is upright. The body is always doing the right thing. It's coughing at the right time for the right reason under the conditions that it's in. It's necessary for that cough at that moment. It's there for the betterment of the body. So the body is doing what its own business to preserve itself, to defend itself, to heal itself. Imagine us having to, tell the immune system how to go about its job and when to go about its job, letting it know, hey, I'm ingesting poison right now, and you need to get the work of defending the body from that poison. What if you had to observe that and be aware of that and cut on the immune system? Many times you would be dead right now because you would have missed a bunch of things. But the human body don't miss anything. It's aware and it's conscious and designed to be able to defend the body from all poisons that are generated from without and poisons that are generated within. That's called exogenous toxins and endogenous toxins. Toxins from without and toxins from within. So we want to, want you to make sure that you follow us every Tuesday at 6 o'clock, where you can tap in with this information that you can learn a better understanding of what holistic health is according to natural hygiene, and stay away from these different teachings, even these new teachings that's coming out that uses a little bit of natural hygiene, but they're veering away from the sound teachings of hygiene. They're giving credit to pills and potions and remedies now, even though they watch the remarkable ability of the human body to repair itself only using the principles by which health is dependent on. Health is only dependent on the air we're breathing, the food that we're eating, the drink that we're drinking, the amount of exercise that we're getting, the environment that's around us. Our health depends on the quality of that stuff. The lack thereof of that stuff, or it need more of that stuff. It's just then we have to look into balance. But in the meantime, we see that hygiene gives the principles by which our health depends. Dr. Shelton would call it the primordial requisites. It's the requirements. It's what the body requires for health to be, evident. If you want health and you want it to be sustained, then you must continue in what is required of you. You got to keep on breathing fresh air. You got to keep on eating the ideal food. You got to keep on drinking clean drinks. You got to keep on exercising. You got to keep on having, harmonious relationships around you. And your environment must be congenial. It must be favorable. You know what I mean? You got to have a congenial environment. You got to promote your health, not be destructive and wear down your body and stress your body. I was talking with the producer earlier today, and before we started the show, and out of the blue, I just say, stress, is behind a lot of our sicknesses. be it a physical stress, mental stress, emotional stress, even spiritual stress. But it's a stress. Even when we eat too much food, that is a stress on the body. When we're drinking unnatural drinks, it stresses the body. Anytime the body is under a state of stress, there is weakening going on. The weaker our vessel become, the more prone, the more prevalent the disease manifests itself. Symptoms get stronger and stronger when the cause is stronger or we can't tolerate the poison anymore. But let's talk about this body heals itself. All right. Living matter heals itself. Now, the ability and power of cure is embedded in all living matter, according to natural hygiene and according to our teachings. It is encoded in their very fabric, starting with the smallest cell or germ to man. So the smallest germ, which we're nothing but a big old community of germs, of cells. But all living matter is encoded in their very fabric, starting with the smallest cell there is to the huge community of cells, which is man. Which man is a complex organism. Now, we've seen wounds on a finger self-repair itself by first draining out, bleeding, and then a scab form. Now, you didn't have to call this action and say, hey, I cut myself and I need it to be washed out thoroughly, send some blood to wash out and drain out the waste, and then form a protective covering, the body's own Band-Aid, which the blood itself coagulates and become the actual protective covering as it hardens. Now, that's remarkable ability of the body to do such thing. Now, if you ever pay attention to it, you say, wow, this is remarkable. Some people go about the day not even paying attention to how amazing the human body is and its ability to protect us. We just go about our daily life just abusing the body. And the body is just there, just fixing and protecting you and making life tolerable. Let's understand this power and ability of the living matter to heal itself. Now, this power that we're talking about is absent in dead matter. Now, living matter has power of healing. You remember we say living matter heals itself because it has a power within it, inherent in it, that is healing. All right. Now, dead matter doesn't have this ability because they have no power. It's inert. It's dead. You see organisms or dead people, for example, and dead animals. Once they're dead, they have no ability to heal themselves. In fact, their bodies start rotting away and becoming one big sore. So what's different in the dead animal than the living animal? The power of life. So living matter is self-healing. All right. Now let's look at power of restoration of the whole of its following the breakdown of its infected cells. All right. Listen what I said. Power of restoration. Our living matter has the power to restore itself after breaking down its infected cells. If it have a part that is infected, it removes that part and replaces it with a new part. This is called the power of restoration, just like you do in your homes. You know, if you have a worn out roof, you remove the old roof and you put on a new roof. If you have worn out and dirty and filthy and wet carpet, you know, you pull that carpet and you put new carpet down there. If your walls are damaged real bad from something, who knows? You know, somebody beating on the wall. We don't know. Got some bad kids. But they destroy your walls. And you have somebody come through and fix the walls, pasture them up and patch them up, and you get them to paint over it, and you get them sand them down and then paint over it. That's restorative, you know. And so you're restoring your home back to livable conditions. And the body has its own carpenter, its own contractor, and it does the work of repairing, because it has the power to restore itself when cells have broken down, been damaged. That's how the body heals. It heals its damaged cells by removing some of them, repairing some of them, and putting new ones there. In science, this is called metabolism. This is the building up and the breaking down of the body. It's called anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism is the building up of the body. Catabolism is the tearing down of the body. So the body is in constant anabolism, catabolism, anabolism, catabolism. And these two processes create what we call metabolism. All right. So the body this is a metabolic activity. All right. So the body is healing, repairing itself, removing dead flesh, taking stuff away and building up new stuff, taking stuff away and building up new stuff, taking stuff away and building up new stuff. This is what the body is doing. This is the activity of the body. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to remove the dead tissues that your body used up today. That's nothing you had to do consciously. You know, a subconscious program is running this thing, but not a conscious one. You didn't consciously have to say, well, I used up 1 trillion cells today, and I'm going to take them down one by one, and I'm going to, take them to the kidneys. I'm going to send the materials that the kidneys can get rid of to the kidneys. I'm going to take all solid matter, and I wish to send that to the colon, where the colon can discard through a bowel action. I want all carbonic gases and toxins to be sent to the lungs. This is not something you have to know. A lot of people don't even know what carbonic gases is, or know that that's the function of a lungs, is to filter the blood of all waste material, or that the kidneys filter the blood, or that the bowels filter the blood. This is stuff we don't really know unless we learn science and go start reading science books and studying science and getting degrees in science. But you don't need to know that to live as a human being. You don't have to know this. This stuff is going on. The thing is to be in alignment. When you're eating properly and when you're in balance, there's a natural tearing down and building up. But if the body is always subjected to poison and this tearing down, and the body have to keep removing waste and never getting any nutrients in which to build itself up, then we have a wasting away, or we have a dilapidation going on. We have a building that will soon not be able to stand. In one of our books, we had one called, Are We Building a Shack or a Mansion? And some of us, our daily lifestyles are congruent to building a shack. If we consider our body to be a temple, and if the only thing that can create a perfect temple is using the best material, and the best material for health is breathing pure oxygen, breathing, drinking clean, pure distilled water, eating fruits and vegetables, wholesome, organic fruits and vegetables, staying away from toxic people, keeping the will to live, nurturing, relationships, having normal movement, getting plenty of sleep, you know, getting adequate sunlight. These things are what the body require for us to not only get energy and get health, but to maintain that energy and to maintain that health. So some of these things are elements that I keep talking about. When I keep talking about those 10 energy enhancers, those things, there's also not just the elementals, which is the air, water, sun, and the food, but also these conditions, these principles you need to follow. Going out into the sun, staying away from toxic people. That's something you should live by. You live by it, then you stay healthy. So we see that catabolism and anabolism is metabolism here, and that's the building up and tearing down of the body. So that is body activity. So right there in itself, that's the number one argument in defense that the body heals itself. If we were in a court of law and we were trying to persuade a jury that living matter heals itself, man, all I had to do was tell them, hey, you got time? I'm about to put a little cut here, and I want you to pay attention. That'd be evidence that the body heal itself if we got enough time to watch this in action. We'll see the blood, then we'll see it cake up and create a little scab. And day by day, that scab will get a little harder until eventually it gets so hard and black and it'll fall off. Underneath that scab then would be new tissue. It'll be a little lighter, but after a time's time, even it will blend back into the rest of the pigmentation of the skin or my arm. You wouldn't even really know that I even scarred myself. Now, if it's a really bad wound and it wasn't healed properly, then scarring would be there. And that's something that we'll talk about later on down in this show, where we talk about healing in the first intention or healing in the second intention. But it is the process of repair or the continual renovation of the organism. That's what metabolism is. It's the ongoing repair process that never stops. In metabolism, you don't want that to stop. No. So this is an ongoing process. To continually have a beautiful house, maintenance must be continued. You can't just, buy a house and it be beautiful, brand new house, and you just don't do anything. You never clean up, you never do anything, you never repair anything. When the door handles get broken, you just let the house turn to a wasteland. It could have been a beautiful mansion. But to never renovate or clean up the house or anything will eventually turn it into ruins. You'll be dealing with some ruins around here. So regeneration goes on continually in living matter. Were it not for this process of repair, the bodies of all humans and animals would gradually break down and perish within days of birth, if there was no ongoing regeneration. If we were given the allotment of cells and tissues at birth, then there would be no growth. If we wasn't able to, create new cells and grow the body. If metabolism wasn't allowed. There would be no growth. We would stay little miniature itty bitty babies, and you know, we would have no ability to repair when we damage ourselves. Once we cut ourselves, there would be no healing. We'll have all our scars wide open, bleeding still. I say scars, there will be a wound. We broke a bone or arm or whatever, there would be no healing. You know, we can go to the doctor, yes, and let him set the bone, but can he heal that bone? No medicine on earth has been known to heal bones and mend bones, but we know that bones mend with or without medicine, with or without doctors. Why? Because living matter heals itself. That's just how the body was designed to work. And I'm thankful for that, because I didn't need to be around here broke up. You know, I want to be healthy. All right. So the womb would be incapable of healing had it not been for this ongoing process of metabolism, or this ongoing process of healing. This living matter recognizing that there's damage somewhere in the body, and it goes and starts an inflammatory process of healing, or some other form of healing. Now, according here, and we see that Carroll and Burroughs discovered that cells which showed signs of what is called old age require only to be replaced in a new culture media to become young again. Now, did you hear what I just said? Carroll and Burroughs discovered that if you take a cell, that cells which show old age, all right? Now these cells were old and run down. It said that all needed in the laboratory was to take a rundown old raggedy cell and put it in a new culture, a clean culture, one that ain't poisonous and a bunch of trash in it, a clean culture. It would become young again. That cell has in it metabolism to remove waste and get materials and repair itself, renew itself. The cell, we know the body is capable of doing it because the cell is capable of doing it. Every cell has the self-preservation, the self-healing power of life within it to rejuvenate itself. And this was discovered by Carolyn Burroughs when they took a old outdated cell and put it in a new culture, and it regenerated back to youth. Some of us looking for the fountain of youth, you need to get into another beaker. You need to be put into another culture. Your lifestyle is toxic. That's producing your old age and run down. It's time to be removed from that culture and put yourself in a new culture. Natural hygiene is that clean culture, that clean lifestyle that will allow you to allow your body to restore itself, because you're getting fresh air, you're getting sunlight, you're getting cleanliness all around you, in your habits and in your environment. So you have no choice but to thrive. Cells and tissues regenerate because the condition for their growth is present. Excuse me. So they were aging from the old toxic media that fed and cleansed them. Long as they kept the cell in the old media, which they little beaker with all their little liquid in there, and that cell sitting in there, if it was old and dirty, it was dying. But when they put it in a new one, it sprung back to life. It came back to life. The old media was poisoning and starving the cells. The new media was feeding. But eventually, this new media will become old as well. And you will have to move it to a new one. So it's a continual renewing by removing toxins and providing a new culture. Now, in the human body, our culture is called lymph fluid and our blood. But the lymph fluid is the fluid that bathes every cell. Around every cell, there's lymph fluid. And this fluid keeps it permeable and washes away all its filth and waste. And it travels in the lymph system. Sometimes it gets trapped in the lymph nodes. And sometimes it's drained out through the mucous membrane. Sometimes it's dumped into the subclavian vein or the thoracic duct. That's right up here at the top of the circulatory system. It's dumped into the circulatory system. And these poisons and toxins and waste circulate through the circulatory system, through the blood, and is taken to elimination organs. And these elimination organs filter out that blood of that waste, and you urinate out the waste. You have a bowel movement of the waste, or you exhale that waste from the body. This is activity of the body. This is something you don't have to do. This remarkable activity here. You know what I mean? I know you see me smiling. Me, I guess I'm just a science, like how some people say you're a science nerd or something like that. I get excited when I start thinking about the remarkable ability of the human body. You start looking at the intricate workings, this melodrama, Dr. Shelton would call it. It's a big melodrama going on in our body that we're unaware of. That's what he labeled when he was talking about in orthobionomics. We look at grafting. Make sure we got enough time here to keep talking. I'm going to try to move a little faster here. But grafting plants and trees is familiar to most, right? Medical mentality is aware of grafting of skin in burns. You listen to what I'm saying? Grafting plants and trees is familiar to most people who are listening right now. You've seen people grafted new trees from pieces of limbs of older trees, and able to graft other trees into new other trees and get a whole different fruit. And these medical men, they know about grafting skin. When people get burned, they take skin from other areas and layer it over the burnt area. Regeneration is faster in young cells rather than in older cells. And healing is seen faster in children than in adults. And this is only because those cells are healthier and younger cells. And our lifestyles doesn't allow for regeneration, so we're carrying around a bunch of old, aged cells in our body. Cells that haven't had a chance to get new culture. Cells that haven't had a chance to get nutrition. So they're starving. And they're living in filth. So they're dying. So our cells are aging because they are in bad culture. Healing by the first intention we were talking about a few minutes ago is where the body heals itself, back to like perfection. As if it has never been abused. So it's healing itself as though you would never even notice that anything ever happened. That's healing in the first intention. We usually see this in young cells and healthy cells, but healing in the second intention is as a defensive scab or scar to deal with continuous abuse. So the body will heal, close up a wound, but that skin that sits on top of that wound will be tougher skin. It won't be soft, baby-like skin. You have that hard back, you know. But it'll be harder to abuse that. But that hard skin don't bend properly, and when it do bend, it cracks, and there's pain. So it's not the best ideal, but it's necessary to close up these wounds. It's like, I'll put this here until I'm able to fix it. It's like a patch. Instead of you changing out the windows, you put up plastic until I can get the money to go and get me the double pane windows they got on the television. Because if they don't work, I can get my money back. But when you're healing in the second intention, it's not as healing in the first intention. It's just you're not giving your body a chance to heal properly, or the abuse is still continuously going on in your body. The body will throw up a bunch of scab tissue. The power to immediately reproduce a lost part. This is seen with great power in the lower orders of animals. Now, I'm talking about living matter. I'm not just talking about mankind here, because I know some people saying, well, I know some people who done got their legs cut off and they didn't grow no leg. That's true. But this is seen with great power in the lower orders of animals, and only in measured amounts in the highest one. So it's only in minute amounts in the highest one. Reason being, because the highest animals, such as man, are more complex than those little organs. I mean, them little organisms that can heal themselves almost instantaneously. You can watch them grow another tail or organ or something right there in front of you. But only living matter can cure itself where curing is possible. All cure is self-cure. Only a few surgical cases are really ever necessary. And most of them could have been prevented provided they allow the organism to regenerate itself by the renewing of its blood or media that was poisoning and starving the cells from the ability of said regeneration. So a lot of the surgical cases, what it's saying, if it's not an outright emergency where you was riding down the street and the car hit you, then you might need some surgical care there in the case of emergency. But in other areas that people bodies are breaking down due to internal issues of bad eating, bad drinking, lifestyle practices that destroy tissues and cells throughout the body, smoking and all type of other stuff like that destroy living tissues. And those tissues have to go on repairing themselves. Every time you inhale smoke, that heat and toxic poisons go into your lungs and destroy the delicate lining of your lungs. But, with high energy, you won't feel that effect because the body will go on healing itself real rapidly. It'll discard that toxic, those cells that have been destroyed and replace them with new cells. And you'll cough out a big phlegm of some matter inside the phlegm, and you're going about your day and light up another smoke and continue to have it. The glass snake, which scientists says is a lizard, if caught by the tail, will snap it off and attempt to escape from its enemy. Now, after which, without trouble or pain, grows another one that serves well as the one it lost, if not better. The slow worm and many other lizards can do the same. Fingernails torn off form another one to take its place. All right. So this is all living matter healing itself. Don't need no help. Don't need no drugs, no remedies, anything like that. I'm just showing you the remarkable ability of healing and where the power at. You're giving power to these drugs. You're giving power to these medicines. The power is in the living matter. Did I say that dramatically? The power is in the living matter. Even a chipped crystal will perfect itself again when it is bathed in a solution of its own salts. Animals reproduce lost parts, like, legendary stuff like Hydra. That's question mark. But the mystical beasts, their tentacles and oracle discs. A snail, terminal and eye can be reproduced in a short time. The centipede and millipede, each piece can be, broken apart from each other. And each one of them will produce a whole nother centipede or millipede. Now in plants, you can cut off a leaf from the begonia plant, place it in a suitable soil and wait and water it. It puts out roots and shoots, and in due time, a full-grown begonia plant results. Now, I've done the same thing right here on my porch. I got a mango tree growing on my porch, and I trimmed the tree. Instead of discarding the limbs that I cut off, I trimmed them down and put them into some compost and good soil, and now they're growing themselves. They done started getting roots, and they got leaves coming from these little sticks that I just poked in the ground. And they're becoming new mango trees. From the sea. The salamander regrows a leg. A crawfish can regrow new parts, limbs or tentacles, if destroyed. And all this is via the, nature heal itself, the medicatrix naturer. Wounds heal in spite or without a doctor. Bones mend only by the body. The snail only required the natural or ordinary conditions of snail life. The salamander required the conditions of a salamander life. They require no drugs, serums, salves, remedies, herbs, antiseptics, vaccines, antitoxins, electrical currents, x-rays, acupuncture, chiropractors, spine cracking, or any of the other so-called forms of healing. They didn't need none of that stuff. All they required was the conditions around that organism, and the body instantaneously and miraculously went into healing itself. The plants only needed the conditions of plant life. The sea creatures only needed the conditions that surrounded their life. And this brings us to man. If man wished to regenerate their cells with high energy and functioning power so that the cells stay young and operate efficiently, then we need the conditions that makes this regeneration possible. We have to first clean up the media, or blood, or lymph that feed and clean the cells. The cells cannot live and stay young in a filthy media or filthy toxic blood, irritation starts with this toxicity in our body. Our energy level is low. Toxins start to accumulate in our body. There's not going to be no good elimination going on because the organs that eliminate toxins don't have no functioning power. So toxins start accumulating in the blood, start accumulating in the lymph. The lymph can't dump no waste in the blood that's already toxic, and neither can the lymph clean cells of their toxic waste if the lymph is already wasteful and toxic. It hasn't been cleaned. So the toxins start to irritate the cells and tissue. And this irritation causes inflammation throughout our body. And this inflammation results in ulceration, where you start having it come out of unnatural routes. And after continue coming out through these unnatural routes and the abuse that these toxins do to these routes, there becomes a hardening in those areas. That hardening starts changing the function of that cell and tissue or that organ to where it's now metamorphosized. And we're dealing with fungation. We're dealing with a cancer. So it starts with uncleanliness, innervation, toxemia, and then irritation. So the whole objective to keeping ourselves regenerating is to keep a healthy media. And we won't go down the stages of disease. What causes the poisoned blood or filthy media? We just said innervation, low functioning power. We talked about how to restore nerve energy back to your body, how to get energy back to your body. If you're saying that you don't have enough energy, where your cells and tissues can't filter out the blood properly, where you can go and pick up more waste and keep exchanging this media, you need to practice the 10 energy enhancers that we talk about in natural hygiene. Uncleanliness, we got to make sure that we're clean. Get away from toxic water, drink pure water. Stay away from unclean air, get clean air. Stop avoiding the sun. Go out into the sun and get adequate amounts of it. Stop eating wrong food. Eat the ideal diet, which is wholesome organic fruits and vegetables. Stop avoiding rest and sleep and get more sleep and rest. Stop allowing wrong temperatures into your environment, in your body. Your body have to maintain a state of homeostasis. They have to keep regulating its temperature to deal with its environment. Even in your eating, you're eating hot stuff and drinking cold stuff and eating cold stuff. The body have to compensate for that temperature. That's a waste of energy. Whole objective is to conserve energy here. Emotional imbalance, stress of any kind. That's what we were talking about earlier. That's stress. That's emotional imbalance. Poise is very important in maintaining energy and not allowing your body to become weak. People can have a stress. You see people get locked up and literally overnight they turn gray from worrying and stress. So they age prematurely, fast, because they're under stress. They have no energy to repair. These things make the blood, when you are on the health side or the unhealthy, well, let's say you're on the unhealthy side of this spectrum. You're not getting clean air, not getting sunlight, not eating ideal foods, and maintaining high levels of stress, and keeping your environment toxic. You suffer disease, which leads to death of our cells. And if this continuously happens, then you run out of cells. But when you obey the healthy side of this spectrum, you are rewarded with regeneration of the organism by cleaning up the blood. You're rewarded with youth. You're rewarded with regenerative organs and tissues when you're on the health side of the spectrum, when you're eating the right food, drinking the right drinks and stuff like that. It cannot use any kind of outside influence to regenerate itself other than the conditions that are vital to its existence. This is vital relation. So with that being said, I want y'all to have a great week. We're running out of time here. I enjoyed talking to you. I hope you got something from this. Best of health and happiness from Savannah Natural Health, and I'll see you next week. Love you.
I like that.